Okay. Hello, folks. Hope anybody watching this will get something out of it. I sure as heck did. So yesterday it happened. I was in my kayak fishing out there for between 6 and 7 hours. Wind picked up a little bit, it got choppy, and the fish turned on. So I wasn't too anxious. I was maybe a quarter mile from the boat launch in 6 feet of water. There was shallower water close by. I wasn't really worried. I wasn't taking much water over the bow, but at one point, I was just getting ready to quit. I pulled my anchor and the boat started rocking severely. And I'm like, what is going on? I looked in the back and the tank well was full of water. The rear end was practically submerged. I tried to paddle this boat, but the rocking back and forth was so severe that eventually it flipped over, capsized, threw me out, obviously. One thing I learned is I had 2 rods tethered right here, right? 2 rods in the rod holders tethered. I had a bait bucket and an anchor line tied off on my anchor trolley right here. I also had a fish on a stringer. When I went in the water, all that went in the water too. And every line got tangled up, including around my legs. As I was trying to right the kayak, I had to get underneath it to try to right it. So I tried twice to right the kayak and gave up immediately because it wasn't going to go. There was way too much weight inside the hull for me to be able to flip it back over. So I spent about 30 minutes in the water before I was able to wave somebody down. They came, picked me up, and towed my boat right back to the ramp I put in at. So all things being equal, about the best you could hope for. I did lose some gear, lost a box of jigs, a box of plugs, a net, a couple other sundry items. I'm not even sure at this point. I haven't gone through everything. So by the time I got home, realized a couple things. One, I had a dry box in there. I don't know what happened with that, but it got full of water. Plain old dry box, filled up with water. Well, it didn't fill up, but everything in it got wet. Had enough water in it. Now, I don't know if there was something caught in the seal when I clamped it shut, maybe. So this morning I got out here and started looking online, trying to do some research. I had already had somebody suggest that the seat, which normally sits like this is what they call their gravity control seat. It goes up and down, so you can adjust the height on it. And the wheel and the keel, because this is a feel-free, let me show you that, feel-free Lure 11.5. Okay, so this is not a tiny boat. This boat is about 33 inches wide, rubber deck for standing platform. It's extremely stable. I had people, I posted on a couple local fishing pages about it, and people were saying, oh, you should have a sit-on-top kayak. This is a sit-on-top kayak. And other than getting a little bit of water down inside when I go out, I have not had a problem with it. I've had it in rougher waters than I was in yesterday. I've had it in waters so rough that I unclipped my anchor and clipped the anchor line to me just in case I went in the water, because the wind and currents were going in opposite directions and I got stuck out in the middle of a water of an area that happened so fast. So, you know, I've taken the precautions. I've done the research. I've studied. This is my third boat, my first kayak, but my third boat. I've had it a couple years. Haven't used it a ton, largely because of some back problems last year that were resolved, fortunately. But, you know, I've been out in a lot of different water. I've been in strong currents. You know, I know what it's like. I've had other boats. I've got a John boat sitting out on another part of my driveway right now. I've had a 21 cuddy cabin boat, bay boat, and had that out in rough waters. So I'm no stranger to the water, you know. So I was very surprised when this happened. So this morning, going online, looking up videos, either the first or second video talked about this seat and how it attaches. It clamps on right down here. Here's the clamp. It swings around and tightens up underneath that knurl right there. And it sits in a groove. So lift this up. The thing I don't like about this seat is the front is only held down with nylon straps, with plastic. I don't know why they decided to do that. I know that this model has an optional pedal drive kit, and part of that kit is a seat adjuster, so maybe that's why they designed it that way. The guy who put the video on this morning was talking about, he eventually found that what had happened was the seat bar right here rests down in this groove right here. And he found, I hope you can see it when I press on it, right there, a crack. And he repaired that, and I got that down. I got to get some tools to take care of that. He pointed out that, feel free, you did a lousy job here with your fit and finish on this boat, because this seat, that is sharp. I mean, that has got a raised edge on it. If I rubbed hard enough, I might even be able to cut myself. But it's really sharp edges here. The guy on the video ground this down as part of his repair. I'll probably do the same. He also added a rubber bumper, strip of rubber up here that would help protect the plastic. But if you look on the edges of these are all not smooth, rounded edges. I also got a problem with the paint peeling off. I don't know how old this boat is. I bought it, it's probably 6 years, 7 years old maybe. I don't know exactly. The other thing the guy online pointed out, in the YouTube video pointed out, is this part right here. I'll show you when I put it back down. Put that down. Hang on. Sorry about that. Couldn't get the seat to go back down into place. When this seat is all the way in its lowest position, this part right here, and you can see the wear right there. If I could get the angle right, you can see how this is wearing on the plastic right there. And this nut here was also wearing. The other side looks good. Now I haven't got that quite. The other side looks like the clearance is all right, but there's a little bit of wear there as well. You can see right in here where that plastic is starting to get scratched up. So gravity seat is what they call it. It's a little bit awkward, but it's nice to be able to raise the seat up and sit in something that's more like a chair when you're in calmer waters, which I was yesterday for most of my time. Here's another thing right there. Now that's not down in here, although I can see that there's a bit of a, might be a bit of a crack forming there as well. But I got this crack right here. That's also from the weight of the seat, because that's what it is pulling. So at some point, if I went to adjust this seat down and it slammed down hard, that's what happened. And that probably happened yesterday at some point. And that's why when this thing started taking on water, it was a very quick to happen and quick to go down. So I've checked out, some couple other repair videos, plastic welding. I've got to get on that. Got to get to the tools, hardware, and get the right tools and get those cracks taken care of. And then I'm going to have to do a leak test on it and make sure everything is good, because it could be leaking through any of these screw holes. As the one video pointed out, he actually had every one of these screws here had a stream of water going down inside his hull. So I'm probably going to be removing a lot of this stuff and making sure that it gets sealed up properly before I reinstall it. I was just about to buy the pedal drive unit, except Feel Free is having trouble with their inventory. Production obviously down because of the COVID pandemic. And now I'm like having second thoughts. Do I want to put another $1,000 into this boat to convert it to pedal drive? Or do I want to just get rid of this, fix it, get rid of it, and get something else? So that's something I have to decide. But you know, like the other gentleman online, I'm really disappointed with this. You know, the paint peeling is one thing, but when you have a bad fit like that, and this thing, because of the straps up front, you can see how it moves. It moves. So this, when I'm sitting in it, it's moving. It's not, these two little clamps aren't enough to keep it from banging. And this plastic, this is just plastic. That's all it is. I don't know if you can see that pushing down on this. This has got some give to it, you know, and the bottom of the boat too. Now, so I got to get to work, and I thank y'all for watching, and I hope this helps anybody who has a similar issue. Obviously, you know, any boat, any maker can develop problems. So I'm not trying to knock Feel Free, other than this particular aspect of how the seat is attached and how it's finished. But otherwise, I have had a lot of good times on this boat. I've put a bunch of fish on it. I hope to do more in the future. So take care, be safe, and if you're in a small boat, you know, even in a small body of water, pay attention to what's going on with you. If I hadn't been catching fish, I would have probably been paying more attention to how the boat's attitude was with the stern down and the bow up. But I really wasn't, honestly. So I've got a good outcome, other than losing some lures and jigs and things and a few other pieces of equipment. You know, everything came out okay for me, and I hope it all does for you too. So y'all have a good one. Be safe.